everyone. Okay, so may as well get the obvious out of the way first. The fact that Muller's basically plans immediately fall apart thanks to the irrational Stace Interstellar, and then immediately following that, Muller himself pretty much gets easily dusted by Shiki and Shura, which right out of the gate I will say I did like the Interstellar Union reappearing to squash Muller's armada and his whole plans of destroying the planet. With Amira showing up, it was kind of expected they'd make an appearance as well. So in that sense, it was a good twist. And credit where it is due, even though it makes them a bit of a plot device now, I do like seeing them come in to save the day. With that said, Muller himself is the more complicated part of this chapter for me, because on one hand, I do always enjoy seeing him getting his ass beat. That is the one consistent thing about him as a character, is that he is such a detestable piece of shit that you just want to see him get his ass beat. With that said, however, I do admit this is one time where the ease at which he got defeated is a little bit more questionable to me, because although Mashima did legitimize it a bit by having Shura state the obvious of, having the power is one thing, learning to actually use it is another, it does work, but I still weirdly expected more out of Muller, I expected him to just put up more of a fight than he did. And I don't know what I was expecting from this fight, but I did expect a little bit more. And I think part of that is also that, yes, it does feel like Mashima is once again stiffing Jin from getting proper closure. I mean, there's a possibility that we may still get a scene of Jin standing over Muller's remains and monologuing about how much he hated him and all that, but yeah, Jin... The thing about Muller and Muller is that it did still feel like Jin was missing from this one. I like when Muller gets his ass beat, but I think it would have been more impactful this time if it was Jin who was the one who took part in the ass beating as well. Although I guess one thing that was in the back of my mind in reading this as well is that ultimately Muller was just one's lackey, and that one himself is just the much larger and more dangerous threat between the two. So I don't know. It's a bit of a mix. I don't know. Overall, it's kind of a little bit more of a mixed bag for me. I don't hate the fact that he got his ass beat. It's just I wish Jin was there to participate in it too a bit, I guess. And yeah, I'm sorry. I know I brought it up so much last week, but unfortunately I still need to talk about it again, which is that shortly after Shiki and Shura arrive, Amira tells Rebecca straight up that Muller lured her into a trap by pretending to be Shiki, and actually shows Rebecca being shocked and surprised by the revelation. Really? You're shocked and surprised by that? Again, it's bad enough that it does actually make her look like an idiot. But Mashima, seriously, when are you going to learn that drawing attention to the problem does not make it better? It makes it work, and it makes it worse. And honestly, if he had just left it alone, I wouldn't even be talking about this. Or hell, rather than the shocked surprise face he gave Rebecca, just give her a one-line response to Amira saying, yeah, I kind of figured. Something as small as that. It wouldn't have made the whole thing better, but it would have at least lampshaded the issue a bit. But he didn't. And I'm sorry, but once again, I fucking hate it. Rebecca is not a dumbass, but Mashima chose to make her one in this instance. There are so many other ways he could have handled this where the general structure remained the same, but didn't toss out Rebecca's common sense in the process. Yet, in my opinion, he chose the worst possible route which to do that. Which, honestly, at the core of my problems with this, it just makes the whole thing of Rebecca getting kidnapped feel inconsequential. There was no reason for it to happen at all. I'm sorry, there just was none. The whole thing inconsequential. There was no reason for it to happen at all. None. Even the idea of Muller wanting to have her power doesn't work and doesn't feel like a good enough motivation for this whole scenario to play out. And I know I'm looking for logic with a character that is certifiably insane, but seriously, there were so many ways to avoid things playing out like this, and Mashima to me just chose the worst possible scenario card to play with this. I guess on the bright side though, I imagine this is the final time we will ever see Muller again, so hopefully we won't have to deal with stupid scenarios like this again. And yeah, not much more to say, although with the fact that Justice is not among the Irrational States in a Stellar is obviously saying that, yeah, obviously confirming even further that what we know, that Lendard is probably enjoying, is that both Justice and Elsie are probably living together on, or living their lives on Lendard. But it does tend to make me wonder even more if Lendard itself is still going to be subject to its own story in this universe, because with us being in this like different scenario, different universe, I doubt Majima would just outright leave Justice and Elsie alone without somehow getting them involved in the story. The only question is how, because supposedly, as far as we know, God Aknoella is still a member of the Demon Generals in this universe. And if this God Aknoella is Shia Lendard, and Shia still became a machine, that just begs the question of what is going to be the context here. Because given what we know, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point where we do possibly make it to Lendard of this universe, we'll find that there is going to be a war going on, but rather than a civil war in our universe, it's the combined forces of Lendard versus God and Aknoella and one, or at least that is kind of where my expectations are with this anyway. Like if there was ever something that would get like Lendard involved in the story again, it would probably be a war between man and machine, like the armies of Lendard versus the armies of combined armies of God Aknoella in one. Like I can kind of, or at least that is kind of where my expectations are with this anyway. If again, this is only if Majima chooses to get like Lendard involved, but I think there is still a high possibility of it happening. Also, if this does happen, it's a matter of when it'll happen, and given how Lendard was like the final arc in our universe before making the jump to Universe Zero, I imagine any sort of story that takes place on Lendard will be like the last or second to last arc before the big final push to Mother. Like that's kind of where I think it's gonna go. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime signing off. Later, everyone.